Investigation? What investigation?
Murder investigation. I'm a cop. Oh, no.
The musical comedy Murders of 1940 by John Bishop. Man, what a fun and funny play. Man, and it has been a long time since we've done a box set. So what's a box set, you might ask? Well, this is a box set. A box set is basically an interior. And so I want to show you this set. I want to show you all the ins and outs. I want to show you all the trappings. And I want to show you the stuff that's backstage. So let's do a backstage tour of the musical comedy Murders of 1940. Let's do it! Let's do it! Okay, so here it is. And I guess you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start with the floor, because I always start with the floor. I wasn't gonna do this kind of a floor, but I kind of got lazy. I'll just be honest. If you saw my last backstage tour for Iolanthe, that floor looked a lot like this. The colors are slightly different, but the technique is the same. Basically, I painted a black floor, and then I had 3 colors. Basically, there was sort of a kind of a cream color, and then a tan. This one is Leather Lake, and then a Bruisey Mountain Brown, and I just mixed them. This is kind of a scumble. What that means is that I'm using the paintbrush and I'm running over this a couple times to get basically a hybrid color based on those 3 colors. But it's really a dry brushing technique. Most people who know me know that I spend half my life painting wood to look like other wood, and that's what I'm doing here. But you know what? I really believe in floor treatments. I think floor treatments really tie the set together. It's amazing what it does. And so all it has to be is boards, and so we made boards. And then, of course, we have this rug. This is just a rug that we keep usually in the women's dressing room. And we've got a few other ones downstairs too, but this is the nicest looking one. So we pulled it out for the show. But as you can see, the rug with the stage boards and everything, and we've got some levels back here, got a step up and then another step up. They all end up looking really, really nice with the paint. So it's a technique that for me is tried and true. I've done it again and again, and I will continue doing it till the day I die. Then, of course, the elephant in the room is we have a grand piano on stage. It was on one of those big, giant, 3-wheel giant piano dollies, and we had to take that off. Just something interesting here that you might want to see is this is put up on 2x4s. This is just a 2x4 that we cut. It's not a 2x4 anymore, I guess. But it's, you know, it's 1.5 inches thick like a 2x4 is. We cut it to the size of the legs and we put it on there. The reason for that is because since we don't have the original wheels, the pedal assembly here is actually lower than the legs. So we had to prop up the legs so that the pedals were not bearing the weight of the piano, because they certainly wouldn't be able to do that. So it's a fun little factoid in case you ever need to do this. So before building this set, I had to design the entire thing in a program that I like to use called SketchUp. The nice thing about SketchUp is that it's very exact to your measurements. So once I design it in SketchUp, I can give this to my builder. Our technical director is John Merseth, and he and his crew can come in here and give us the rough build, and they've got basically the dimensions that I've laid out in SketchUp. SketchUp's also very nice because you can import textures, and so like this scumbled gray look up here, I was able to import that into my design, and then the same thing with the bookcases and the books and all these other things too. The rough build happens in a few days. We're not done with the set until basically Tech Week, so it usually takes a few weeks to get the set looking real nice like this. So there's basically 2 doors on the stage. There's this one, which is straight onto the audience. So like if I turn the camera around, there's the audience. They look straight here. This is the closet door. And so it's just a closet in there, and these are just shelves that we've had downstairs that we were able to bring up here. And so here's a shelf. You can see that the seam is here. Here's a single shelf that we've had, and then another single shelf. And the fun thing was, it was really easy to just load this with junk, just stuff that we've had in the prop room, and bring it back up. So the closet again too is just these two. Here's a bookshelf, and here's a bookshelf. These were left over from Dr. Faustus when we did it. That's why they've got all these holes in there, because we were putting fog through there and lights. Here's the door. So it's a tight fit, but this is how you get in the closet. And thankfully I don't have to go through here, but students are young and athletic and they can do it. Oh, and this was a door that gets a lot of comedy. We have to have the dead maid body in here. It gets a lot of laughs, and we felt like we needed spring hinges. So these have spring hinges so that whenever this door opens, it always will shut by itself, and that's a very satisfying shut. Then the other door is over here, and this is the French door. And it's just this, it has to be a wintry day out, and so we've got some snow piled up here in the corners. This is just snow from another show. We put snow and frost all on these vines here, and then piles of snow up in the circle window, along with the vines too, so that when the audience looks, it looks like it's a snowy day outside. When the theater lights are on, that looks actually quite convincing. But this window is just plexiglass, and it's just put on to the back. We didn't cut it to the shape of the window at all. We just made a rectangle and then screwed it to the back of the flat. These are all Hollywood flats. We use Hollywood flats almost exclusively here, and we usually use this, which is called Tiger Board now. We used to call it Luan. Luan's kind of a dying name, I guess, but anyways, we can get all that stuff at our home center. So as many of you know, since the pandemic happened, material prices have gone way up. Wood is very expensive. Styrofoam is more expensive than it used to be, but we've actually made a lot of these panel boards out of styrofoam. So this is styrofoam right here. And actually, you can just see it's just put on with a couple screws here and again. These do disappear from where the audience sits. And then this is styrofoam too. But this is wood. So that's one of the tricks, is if we're painting wood to look like wood, that means we're also painting styrofoam to look like wood. So in high activity areas, we actually make it wood. So this is wood and this is styrofoam. You can hear this sounds like styrofoam. This sounds like wood. But that's one of the things, is you have to be able to paint them so that they look exactly identical. The audience shouldn't be able to tell which is which, and so these painting techniques do come in handy for stuff like paneling. And this is fun because the lighting crew had a fun time, because they actually do get to use practicals on stage. We actually have some sconce lights that surround the artwork here. We do have a chandelier here that hangs up over the piano, and then we've got another sconce that is right next to the closet door. So things that just sort of dress the stage up. When the audience sees this, they walk in and that they see that there's working lights on stage. That's always very impressive to an audience. And then there's the old 1940s looking radio. Actually, this is a replica. It has a tape player on the side of it, but we keep that from the audience. The audience doesn't get to see that part. And the radio is never really actually used. As a matter of fact, I'll turn this around here. You can see that we've actually just put in here a speaker. Our sound designer Benji has rigged basically a speaker to an amplifier that's running backstage, and that's where we get our radio sound when we need like announcements or the Stephen Foster song that comes on the radio. The painting technique for the paneling here is basically just scrubbing the panel part with a brush. I'm just basically putting a tan on my brush, and then I've got Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown is a very dark brown for the corners, which makes a neat contrast. Then this is my base coat, which is a Bruisey Mountain. This is just a color that I like from Menards, my home store here in Minnesota. But then Van Dyke Brown, I use Roscoe Van Dyke Brown. And then up here we have another, just a latex paint, a local from the home store called Baked Potato. And I scrub it into the wall. Just keep scrubbing it and scrubbing it and scrubbing it until you get sort of this interesting mottled look. That, along with wood graining technique on the styrofoam, really does sell these panels. Makes it look like an old library in a mansion. And then while I'm talking about that, this is the scumbling technique. So again, this is, I'm basically just taking 3 colors, which is 2 different color grays and a little bit of that tan. And I am just dipping them in at different times into my brush and mixing them on the work. So that's what scumbling is. You're just taking colors and you're basically mushing them together on the actual canvas, which in this case is Luan, that tiger board. And so you get sort of a little bit of a high contrast scumble by doing that. And then I think rooms don't look like rooms unless there's artwork. So I've got this vase of flowers here. Happen to have in our prop storage these pictures of just 2 kids, kind of scary looking kids. And even scarier, right here is Baron Wilhelm von Grosenkneuten, who is Elsa's father in the play. This is basically just a photoshopped work. We found a picture. This is a photograph based off of a photograph that we found on the internet of a guy who looked like a World War I German operative. And then my good friend Andy Overn, who is really fantastic with Photoshop, made this look a little bit more artistic. From the audience's seats, it looks like a painting. And then you put a nice frame around it. So it's just a large scale print. So we just printed this large scale and then we give it a nice frame. Man, does it clean up nice. Okay, speaking of photoshopping and large scale printing, we're in a library here. This is the library of Elsa's mansion, and in this library we've got these books. These books are, some of them, real, but other ones are just photoshopped. This is just photoshopped and then glued to a styrofoam piece. Up here, these are all photoshopped too. So we've got actual books in with photoshopped books, and it really ends up looking pretty impressive. All of this, so fake books, real books. Fake books, this whole shelf, all of those are fake. And we've even put some fake ones at an angle so that it looks even more real. We're really trying to fake people out. But this is a great new way for us to do this. We used to, when we used to do books 1 by 1 or with styrofoam. You know, what changed it for us was actually starting to do high definition recordings on stage. Because the audience necessarily, they wouldn't be able to see the difference. They couldn't see that our books were made out of styrofoam or, just blocks of wood. But once we started recording in HD, the camera picks it all up. So now we had to get a little pickier. And so we're doing this stuff just by printing it out, and that's what all of these things are. These bookcases, by the way, some of these, like this one, is the trigger because this particular bookcase is supposed to be a sliding trap door. So the whole set is kind of like full of trap doors here, and this is just a rock panel that you can get at your home store, and we happen to paint it so that it looks a little bit more defined. But this is the trap door right back here. It's just a sliding trap door. And this sliding door is just basically on a track. This is just angle iron here. Angle iron. It's just screwed up to a 1x4 here. And then we basically made a track. And there's one on the bottom too. Here's that angle. It's just an angle iron. There's the lip of the iron. And you see that it's just pulleys. It's just little pulley wheels, and they just roll on that angle. So here's that track. It's in the light, you can see it a little bit better. I'm just trying to be on my knees, this is not working. But there's the track, and then the wheels go by. And same thing up here. We've got basically it's sandwiched between two angle iron tracks like that. And this works just real well. And it kind of makes a rumble, which is perfect in the show. So basically we've got our assistant stage manager back here who is just running the trap doors. And this is not even the only trap door. This is the last one to be discovered, but there's other trap doors, so let's take a look at those. Okay, so in musical comedy murders, somebody gets stabbed through the bookcase. And so we've got a cool little trap door back here too. This just goes right back to where I was. Okay, so here I am on the other side. But this is, again, just more of those books that are just photoshopped. Here's a good, you can see that it's just nothing but paper. But the audience can't see that. When the audience takes a look, it looks like a set of books. It looks pretty good. So here's another hidden bookcase again too. But this whole door is a hinged door and just sort of moves back like this. Again, we want it to look like there's sort of it's all secret passages. So we have a stencil that we use for the rocks on the floor. And then these are just rock panels from the home store. We happen to have these in stock because we use these in a different show. So we're recycling as much as we can. And then this just shuts. And it's got a little wheel up here just to make sure that that thing is staying in place. This little monitor is where our assistant stage manager can watch the show. So this is a camera that is viewing the whole show. It's a light dark camera so that when the lights go out, the stage managers can still see if everybody's on stage or not, so that they can communicate back up to the booth and stuff too. So that's what they're watching so that they know when their cue is to open the door.
Oh my gosh! It's a secret passage!
Let's get out of here!
Oh, let's take a look!
And the third door is right here, and I'll bet by the circle on the floor that you can figure out what kind of door this is. This is the pivoting door. This is the most fun kind of door because people can actually ride this door. You can actually have an actor right here on the circle and you can just sort of pivot them in. So we've made comic use of that for this. And then we just again put this this rock panel here. Again, we had to paint this to sort of make it match our scumbling technique up top. We do have a curtain here. This is right behind the rotating door because we want to make sure that we don't have any way to move this rotating door except for manpower. So again, my assistant stage manager, Darian, is the one who's moving the door. And he's dressed in all black, so you can't see him. Since this is black back here, this curtain is here, it's all very dark back here, nobody ever sees him, and he's just moving this whole thing around just by his hands. Which again, too, you know, it's low-tech answers to problems. A lot of times, like Iolanthe or the last few shows that we've done, our set has taken up the whole stage. Well, this set doesn't take up the whole stage. It takes up about the first 3/4 of the stage, which leaves another quarter for the actors to just sort of be in here. So nobody really has to run out of the room, which means that, and since it's a 1940s show, we have a lot of clip-cloppity heels, clip-clopping all over the back side of the stage here. So with all those loud shoes and stuff, we've put down carpet. Also, this is white carpet. This is, by the way, just junk carpet. This is carpet that was donated to our theater. It's dirty. We don't care about it. We only use it for basically suppressing sound, and it works great. And when the lights go out, it's dark back here. It's nice to have a floor that's light color and quiet. So we just happen to have carpets that we can put down back here to keep everything quiet and very easily seen backstage. As a point of interest, we've got this hexagonal bump. It's sort of an arch point of interest. And for this, I'll just sort of give you, we've basically just sandwiched these little, I guess, spires in between pieces of MDF. So we had 3/4 inch MDF. It sands real nice and it makes this ornamental thing look really good. And then these pine cone things are just great. These are supposed to be the ends of a curtain rod. So the curtain rod, for usually has like a little ball or something at the end. Well, that's what these are. So had those. It's always great. It's always great to add something to a set that you didn't have to pay for because you bought it, 5 years ago, and that's what these are. Again, let me give a big shout out to my technical director, John Merseth. I show him this kind of thing in my design, and I say, hey, can you build that? And he says, yeah, we can build that. And then he looks at this and goes, man, I don't know if we can build that. But he built it, and it is basically a cantilever. It's unsupported, but it is really, really tightly attached to the wall structure. And it really does make the wall structure more solid too. And it's faced on two sides here to give it extra. And we had to, from the design, we actually had to add this wall in here so that this can have more support. So, things that you learn when you're building, but the thing is solid. I just have to say a few things about the furniture. This is a furniture show, so there are pieces of furniture that I'm not proud of. As a matter of fact, some of these are looking pretty scuzzy. But if you paint the sides that the audience sees, this part I just painted black. This is the bar. This is full of glassware and a crystal tray and bottles and glasses and things. That's not here now. We've kept some of these down here. But this is a hi-fi. This is just an old, record player case. But it, you paint it up and put a stool in front of it, boom, becomes a bar. Good enough. So weirdly, this piece just looks like junk. I don't know if this is showing up on camera, but this thing has pieces just missed out of it. But weirdly, it's not so scratched on this side, and when you have a big giant piano sitting in front of it, most of the audience can't tell that this thing looks horrible. So again, we're making things look good from, it's only really got to look good from like 20 feet away. If you're doing theater, you get really used to, putting junky things on stage that from the audience's standpoint still look pretty good. This old desk really isn't that fantastic, and it's got sort of a scratch going right across here, but you get any distance away and that sort of disappears, and under the theater lighting too, it's not a big deal. We had to find a little pen thing. This is supposed to be basically the thing that triggers the trap door. So when this thing is moved, that thing opens and moves.
That don't count the closets.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, what?
It's a secret passage!
Let's get out of here!
Let's take a look!
I was not even going to use this chair, but this ended up being the chair that I like the most. It just sort of fits behind the desk. And this was one of the ugliest chairs that I happen to have in storage. I brought it up, and then I just sort of fell in love with it. It's just kind of a scuzzy green, weird, velour-looking, shiny chair. And I just thought, you know what? It just sort of adds to the... Elsa, who owns this place, is supposed to be kind of an eccentric, And so I just figured, well, maybe she's got weird, eccentric tastes. So we kept that chair. Okay, and then behind the desk, I was maybe going to put a fireplace. I needed something that sort of had a mantle, but it's really this. It's just this. It's another hi-fi. This is just a, it's got a turntable in there, and this is a radio. Down here are speakers, or that's where speakers were. But I just needed a mantle to put this sword on here. So again, just using stuff that I had around that could actually be built into the walls to make it look a little bit more unique. And then there's this chair. Not great. As a matter of fact, we were thinking about junking this chair, and maybe we will after this. This chair just doesn't look very good. But again, we found this fabric down in storage, and you dress it up with kind of a nice looking pillow, and it passes. It's still not fantastic, but it passes. But there's a reason that it was useful to have a junky wingback chair here, because this is the chair that needs to get a sword pushed through it. Okay, so in the play, Marjorie Baverstock, who is one of the characters, she has to get a sword run through her, and it has to run through this chair. So we had to figure out the way to do that. We just decided, you know what, we're gonna have Marjorie, the actress playing Marjorie, be the one who runs the sword through the chair. That way nobody gets hurt. So she has to, in the dark, run over to that sword right there, and then skewer this chair. So what happens is, she comes over to the sword, which we have at the very end, we've put glow tape on there. So there's glow tape stuck to the end of the handle of the sword. So she grabs the sword in the dark, because she knows where it is, because she sees the glow tape there. And then she can see the glow tape, which is right here and right here. So she knows she has to go between those lines, and she just runs the sword right through, you see? Just like so. Okay, so she's running it through, and now the whole chair is skewered. And then what she does is and I'll take this pillow out of there so you can see it better. And I wanted this to be able to be clearly seen by the whole audience. So the whole audience sees this, because it's ridiculous. And so then she just sits down and puts her arm, you know, it's just this old gag, you know, the sword is running underneath your arm, just like that. And then she just acts dead. And then there's a whole comical thing where they pull the sword out of the chair, and then she falls to the floor in a really funny flourish.
Oh, get her a pillow!
So I started this channel last year when everything was in a pandemic, and for those of you who have been with me, you've seen some of these backstage videos where we didn't have a set or there really wasn't anything going on. We are so grateful to be doing theater, like for real. We're actually able to, you know, do full sets again, if you want to laugh, you can go back and take a look at some of those videos where I was doing backstage tours to basically a blank stage. But now we actually are able to do full scenery, full lighting, full costumes. These backstage tours have been a lot more fun for me. If you enjoy this stuff, why don't you think about subscribing to the channel? My name's Pete, and it is a creative life. Until the next video, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.